Hi everyone. I just wanted to fill everybody in who has seen my protest video from Sunday. We went down and protested at the Milton Keynes Convention on Sunday, just during the lunchtime. It was a bit of a last minute decision. I had it in my mind, should I go or not? But late on Saturday night we decided, right, we're just going to go for it in the morning. So I made a sign up. My sign said, "Hypocrites, preaching love, practicing hate." And then at the bottom it said, "Jesus never shunned." And we rolled up there about 11:30. I found a good spot to protest because we weren't actually on the stadium grounds, so we couldn't be asked to move. We were on what would be classified as public highway. But we were between the stadium and the local superstore where everybody would need to go to get their lunch. So it was only that one little walkway. So we stood either side of it. There was a little zebra crossing there. And it was a good place to set up because we were close enough that we could speak to people without raising our voices. We could just speak our points, and people would hear it as they were going through to go and get their lunch. So at first we had the camera on because we live streamed out just to let everybody know that this is what we were doing today, and just to give a bit of encouragement to everyone else that is involved in this type of activism. And that went really well. And even when the cameras were rolling, I did notice that a lot of the witnesses, they were hearing what I was saying. So on one side I had the sign saying, "Hypocrites, preaching love, practicing hate, Jesus never shunned." And what I was saying was things like, please check in your Bibles for an account showing you where Jesus shunned anybody. Jesus wouldn't shun his family members. Watchtower tells you to shun your family members when they leave the corporation, but Jesus would never have done such a thing, right? So obviously I was appealing to the fact that they claim to be footstep followers of the Christ. I also was just making appeals by saying, please don't shun your disfellowship family members. It could lead to them committing suicide. Now that did seem to touch a lot of people. I don't know if they've personally been affected by suicide, but just saying that, obviously it's a hard-hitting message, and I could see that, you know, their heads were dropping when I was just saying all these things as people were going by. Anyway, and then on the other side, Nathan had my sign about the court cases that they've been found guilty of all around the world, and we always have our little JW fact. I carry my jwfacts.com sign everywhere, and that's mostly for the benefit of the youngsters, because usually when they see there's a website they can Google, they get on it on their phones. So that was the setup of the protest. So as I was saying stuff, I could see that a lot of them do feel shame about this shunning policy, and it is one of the things that Jehovah's Witnesses do not like the outside community to confront them with. They don't like talking about it, they don't like doing it, and so it was quite hard hitting. But I wasn't saying saying my message in a confrontational way. It was more like pleading with them, please don't shun your family members when they leave the Watchtower. You could lead to them committing suicide. Jesus never shunned anybody. Why do Jehovah's Witnesses do this? That sort of thing. So that's what I was mostly saying. Anyway, after about 20-25 minutes, we switched the cameras off, and I noticed a stark difference in the attitude and behaviour of the witnesses when we switched the cameras off. So obviously you get certain witnesses, they're going to walk by staunchly with their heads up high, or they're going to be laughing as they go by, like, ha ha ha, look at them, they're dirt, they're rubbish, look at us, we're all dressed up, kind of thing. And you get loads of witnesses like that, because like I say, I would never say that Jehovah's Witnesses are one job lot of people. They're not all the same. You've got some you've got some good people in there, and you've got some rotten people in the organisation. So I'm not a person that thinks that, you know, all Jehovah's Witnesses are wonderful people. No, I don't agree with that whatsoever. You've got individuals everywhere, and I don't think that Watchtower is any different from the world. You've got the same mix of people. You've got the same problems that they're facing. You know, they're actually no different from the world. They're not separate from the world. They've got the same issues as the world, but they just isolate themselves into their community. Anyway, that's another subject. So we switched the cameras off. Oh, you also got some that came through like this. Like, they literally had their hands over their ears, you know, covering, put their faces down or looked around and went through like that, which is crazy. Very, very culty, I must say. Anyway, yeah, so the cameras went off. And when the cameras went off, I noticed a lot of the witnesses giving me a smile, giving me a nod, giving me a wink. Now, bearing in mind that where they were walking through was in full view of the attendants. So when we first set up, the attendants were looking to see what we were doing. Obviously, when they clocked on to the fact that we were protesting, they got their cameras out to take photos of us, and they were on their radios, and they're all, you know, our brothers like to busy themselves looking like they're doing something important. And oh, you know, we've got an apostate at the gate, or whatever it is that they say. Code 1, code red. So they come out, they took photos of me. So I did pose for their photos. I made sure they saw my sign in the photos. I gave them a smile and a wave, you know, and a greeting. Anyway, so the witnesses, when the cameras were off, were giving me a smile or a nod. Some of them were looking down to the ground like they felt shame. Some of them didn't acknowledge us at all. But this activism, it does work. There were 3 witnesses. One was a family, so a father and 2 daughters, and then a brother and another sister that approached me while I was standing with my sign. So the first brother came over, and he said to me, I've bought you a bottle of water, I've just been in Asda, you've got to be hot standing here, you know, with this sign and everything. So I thanked him, and he said, I just wanted to assure you that no matter what the teachings are, personally, I would never shun my own flesh and blood. And I said to him, do you know what, I really appreciate you coming over and saying that, you know. I tried to extend the conversation by saying to him, how does he reconcile the fact that he's in an organisation that teaches that with his own personal views? But what he said was he didn't really have time to talk. He shook my hand and he went off back into the convention. So that was a good experience, because just the fact that people recognise that what I'm saying is true, and they felt compelled to come over and it's like, you know, to confess to me that they won't do it, you know, obviously the message does touch hearts. Now the second brother came over with his 2 daughters. Really, really good conversation we had, and he said, he come over and he said, I just want to let you know that I would never shun my family members. So they're outside their own convention, being taught all their stuff inside, and they're coming out and telling me that there's certain policies in there that they will not, you know, they will not adhere to. They're not going to make application of that in their lives. And he said to me, you know, he's been a witness for 6 years. His daughter had just got baptised the day before, which was Saturday, and he said to me that the organisation has got a mixture of people. There's a spectrum of people in there. He said, you've got some really good people in here, but you've got some a-holes in there too, which obviously you can't dispute. It's the truth. It is what it is. You know, that is their mix of people. They've got people from all walks of life in there. And he went on to tell me an experience of a sister who was treating her neighbour badly, and, you know, that she shouldn't have been behaving like that because she was a witness, but she did. And so, you know, they try and cover it over with love and this, that and the other. Anyway, going back to the shunning thing, I asked the same question to this guy. I said to him, how does he reconcile the fact that he knows that he would never practice that policy with the fact that the organisation, forget about what the people do, whether they shun their family members or they choose not to, you're in an organisation whose policy doctrine is to shun. And he said to me, well, he said, if you're going to make changes for the better, it's easier to make them from the inside than from the outside. So I was like, oh, right, okay. So I said to him, do you think that this is God's organisation? And he said to me, well, he goes, if you look at the message that we're preaching and, you know, the hope that we have and the hope that we're bringing to people, it's a good thing. So I didn't really want to get off topic because obviously when the waking up process is a long thing, you can't throw everything at a person. Yeah, so I just kind of left him with that. But I did ask him, I said to him, so your organisation also teaches that that only witnesses are going to survive Armageddon. Do you think that you have to be a member of Watchtower in order to survive Armageddon? And he said, definitely not. And his daughter said no too. He said, Jesus reads hearts and there will be people everywhere that survive Armageddon. So I thought, okay, that's quite interesting. So he said to me, he then tried to preach to me like the message and everything. And I said to him, I know all of Jehovah's Witnesses' teachings. I said, I was a Jehovah's Witness for 25 years. And he was kind of blown away by that. Because he expressed to me that prior to being in the Watchtower organisation, he was in like an activist group and for another cause, and he left because he saw that they were going down a route that he wasn't prepared to take, and he made the stand to get out of that. And then when obviously this great hope for the paradise earth and, you know, everything being wonderful was put to him, obviously it's an appealing thing, it appealed to me, it's what brought me in there. So yeah, it was interesting talking to him. Then we moved on to talking about the child abuse issues, because obviously Nathan was standing on the other side with the child abuse stuff, and then he tried to obviously reason out again that, you know, there's bad people everywhere, what can you do about it? But I was able to say to him, it's not the people. You're not actually gonna, you know, we can't eradicate child abusers from society. I don't think it's not a possible thing to do. They're going to be everywhere in all organisations. I said, but the reason why people protest like what we're doing is because of your policies. Your policies have allowed it to happen, and actually the policies themselves have been a cause of people getting abused, because when a case doesn't go to the police because of the 2-witness rule or whatever it is, it leaves that guy open to abuse the next victim. Anyway, he didn't really I could see he didn't get what I was saying, because obviously they've just had this Watchtower, and that's what the daughter brought out. She said, but we just had a Watchtower last week about how we handle child abuse. She said they've made a lot of like progressive changes for the better, and now they do always report to the police. And I said to her, no, you didn't read your article properly. I said to her, you know, it was misleading in the sense that, did you come away with that, with the impression that the elders here in this country would report to the police? She said, yes. I said, well, let me tell you. I said, that article actually stated that in lands where it's a legal requirement to report, we go with, you know, with what the law says. I said, but did you know that in the UK there are no mandatory reporting laws, and so the elders here do not report? But you weren't told that in a black and white fashion in your Watchtower magazine. You were left with the impression that your elders would report. So their faces did drop. And I also said, now, also think about this. They've changed it now to say to family members and abuse victims that if they make this matter known, i.e. by reporting it or talking about it, that they themselves are not bringing reproach on the organisation. I said, but what about all the years prior to this where victims and their family members were told that if you make this public, you are bringing reproach on the organisation, and so they didn't report? I said, have those people been apologised to? I said, and taking it even a step further, some people were disfellowshipped for slander, for talking about the fact that they knew there was an abuser in the congregation, but because they didn't have a second witness, it didn't go anywhere with the elders, and so they were removed from the congregation themselves for slandering a person. Will they be reinstated? So I could see, like, it was a really, like, to see their faces, I can't really explain it, but they were really, you know, listening to what I was saying, and really shocked by, obviously they hadn't thought about things from that angle, which I understand, because I never thought about it when I was in the organisation either. Then I said to them, listen, don't take my word for it. You know, research the Australian Royal Commission. Jeffrey Jackson was there giving testimony, and there was 1,006, you know, accused molesters in the organisation that were kept on record at Bethel and not reported to the police. And, you know, their faces were like. And then I mentioned about the lawsuits with the millions going out, Montana 35 million, and the one that's going ahead in Canada. I said, please research it. 66 million thereafter off of Watchtower in Canada. That's your donation. So you're putting money in. You're thinking that you're furthering your preaching work. I said, but it's going out on lawsuits where Watchtower's been found guilty of either being the cause of a child being molested, or by harbouring, you know, molesters and not reporting them. So the brother said to me, and this is the point, right? That I don't really do my activism in order to wake people up. I more do it for public awareness, because obviously we drew a lot of attention from the public where we were on Sunday. But the brother said to me, I'm going to go and research all what you've said, and if it's true, I'll be standing here with you next year. So no one can't tell me that protesting at the convention don't work. I'm telling you, it works. People do pay attention to what you're saying, and if you can try and word it in a way that will appeal to them, that yeah, we've all got a heart in there, you know. Most of us are penetrable, you know. We're not totally hardened to seeing the plight of suffering of others and stuff like that. So I'm telling you, protesting does work. It really does work. Another lady came over, older lady, and she wanted to assure me as well that she never shunned her son, who is disfellowshipped, and she's aware of the mental health issues that shunning causes, and the elders have counselled her so many times on having dealings with disfellowshipped family members, but she's sticking to her guns and she's not letting her son go down like that. And we had a long chat, and you know, she said she also knows about the child abuse issues, but she's an older lady, and she said to me, when I asked her, do you really think God would back an organisation like this? She said to me, well, where else am I going to go? But you know what? We had a hug in full view of everybody, and she went back in her convention. So protesting really does work. Just going back to that brother that I had the conversation with, who said that, you know, if he finds out that what I'm saying was true, he'll be protesting with me next year. What we finished up talking about, because what I said to him is, ultimately it comes down to, is this organisation what it claims to be? Is it God's organisation? And then I told him about the 607 stuff, you know, how their dates do not concur with all of secular history. It's all thrown out, and if that's thrown out, they've got no claim on being God's organisation. So he's got a lot of work to do, and his daughters, and I'm hoping that I'll see them again. But regardless of those three people, I saw that the message that I was saying was touching people. It was burning them. And so I would say, if you've got the nerve to get out and protest, please do it. It does have an effect, you know. The same way, I don't know if you're like me, if you see somebody suffering, you can't just like turn your nose up and forget about it. It plays on your mind. So if you're bringing this to their attention, that you're taking them out of their little bubble of each other, saying, oh yeah, we're doing it, it's Jehovah's discipline, it will bring them back if we do it this way. No, they're in that group of people that's feeding that. So we need to try and penetrate that with the reality of what shunning does. And I definitely think protesting works. When Nathan was standing, he had a lot of conversations with different ones as well. And also, another good thing that came out of it was a journalist for the Sunday Times was passing by, and she swapped contact details with Nathan and spoke about if he knows of anybody that wants to come forward and share their story. So if anybody is out there that feels like they would like to go public with their personal story, then feel free to contact me in the comments below, or you can look me up on Facebook. So yeah, protesting works. I don't care what anyone says, and like I say, my motivation for doing protesting is not really even to wake up the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's more for public awareness, and also for my own therapy. You know, I was in there, I was promoting that stuff, but do what you can, you know, if it's little or if it's much. And also do what you feel's right. Don't let someone else tell you, oh, you can do this, but you can't do that. It's right to do this, it's not right to do that. No, if you're doing something and it's all legal and above board, do what you like, because you don't know who you're going to reach. Anyway, that's been a long video. Send my love out to everybody. Take care, bye.